So I warned you guys properly the last time we talked about the game key cards, and as I've been warning you guys with everything when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2, of course, we got some new information from Japan. Shout out to them for making sure we got this information and that it became big enough for us to be able to report on it. Now, I'm late to this news. Been busy with work and working double time this week. But, of course, here I am to bring you guys my thoughts on what's going down with the Nintendo Switch 2 since the last time we talked about it. So, before the last time we talked about it, where I talked about the variable pricing, we talked about the game key cards. And the reason why we talked about these is because I told you guys the story about how I was able to give my uncle the satisfaction of playing Mortal Kombat X on his PlayStation 5 again, since his disc was damaged. However, the PS5 did still recognize the disc, and this allowed me to use the data from my console, or rather my digital download of the game, and his disc. And through, of course, these two being put together, this allowed him to actually play MKX without having to go buy the game again. Now, the game is dirt cheap nowadays, but still, he didn't have to go buy the game again because of this little workaround that we used. And how pretty much my uncle is in the situation now of what's going on with these game key cards when it comes to that game specifically, because he's a huge fan of Mortal Kombat. And here we are, here's the catch-22 of the situation, where I told you guys pretty much, like I foresaw it happening, that most third-party studios are going to exclusively release their games on the Nintendo Switch 2 with the game key cards. However, I believe that what was going to happen was we would see it happen over time. So pretty much probably about, if we're in 2025, probably 2028, we would see most developers using game key cards. And I believe that what was going to happen was they would try to get around it with, well, the game is too big to put on a regular key card, on a regular card from Nintendo. I thought that's how they were going to try and get around it. Of course, give it time to let the games, start to seem a little bit bigger, and we're trying to force it and push it on the Nintendo Switch 2, and that would be how they would pretty much usher in third-party games being specifically game key cards. When every single game key card that we see here, we already know has no excuse to be a game key card instead of a full game card. And the reason why we already know that there isn't an excuse, because of all of the Switch 2's third-party games, and this includes the Dust Bloods, even though we don't have any clue what that's going to be yet. Of all of the games being released right now, or that's going to come to the Switch 2 within this year at least, Cyberpunk 2077 is actually, I think, the biggest one. It's kind of like a map about the size of GTA 5, and it's going to be, I think I saw from Digital Foundry that it's going to be running at 30 FPS when it's in handheld mode, and then it will actually go up to perhaps a smooth 60 once it's docked, because the dock this time for the Nintendo Switch 2 is apparently supposed to help with cooling, and once you dock it, the Switch 2 will actually recognize that it's docked, and this will allow it to utilize more power, as of course it's being fed a constant charge through the charging application of the dock, and then also to the cooling of the fan, which will allow the system to run the games better in docked. Now that, of course, they've added those essentials to it, and of course the console is actually supposed to be 120 hertz, meaning that of course 60 FPS is kind of in the mid-range of the amount of output that it can use. So, but we already know from Digital Foundry, who were able to test the frames of Cyberpunk 2077, that when it's in handheld mode, it's gonna try and stay at a smooth 30, but they suspect that when you dock it, it most likely will jump up to 60 FPS. So it's kind of weird how that's going to happen, and we're going to see that with a lot of games in the future of the Switch 2. But let's get back on the appropriate topic here, because we see here that we got Sonic X Shadow Generations, which I have on my Legion Pro, and if I'm not mistaken, the Switch 2 isn't necessarily weaker than my Legion Pro. So I'm not understanding what was the need for this to be a game key card. This game is not massive. Sonic Generations, which barely got any graphical touches, which is the bigger game, and it barely got any graphical touches. That game was on the fucking PS3 and Xbox 360. How in the fuck does the Switch 2 need this to be a game key card to function? Bravely Default, of course, you guys heard this before from other people. Bravely Default, this was a 3DS fucking game. This was a 3DS game. It's been transformed into HD, and now it's going to come out on the Nintendo Switch. Or if it's not on the Switch now, it's coming to the Switch 2, and this for some reason is a game key card. What the fuck? Street Fighter 6. Bro, a fighting game needs to be a fucking game key card? When Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be a full card? Like how, bro? Donkey Kong Bonanza? Street Fighter 6 needs to be a game key card, bro. And this is apparently happening almost across the board for anything that's not coming from Nintendo themselves. And exactly what I was saying earlier in the video. This is pretty much the case that this is exactly the direction that they're going. And I said this last time. We're going to see them phase out the full game cards for the game key cards. And it's not for reasons such as saving money. I mean, yeah, that may be a part of it. But the reason is to specifically put us in a situation or start to condition us for a situation like with how the PS5's Pro version requires you to literally buy an add-on for if you're someone who actually collect your games or buy your games in physical form. You have to buy an add-on to a fucking console because they're trying to force us to go digital. And the problem with going digital is you're trading ownership of your games for convenience. And that's what I was trying to say last time, that pretty much they're going to try and kind of bend our arms behind our back and make us go into digital with these game key cards. So let me know what you guys think about this, man. This shit is, the Nintendo Switch 2 is fucking terrible. And yes, I am not one of the people who are in a rush to pre-order it, my niggas. In fact, if I have to, I'm gonna be real. If I can verify and meet someone to get it in my hands, check the box, and just pay them, I would rather go that route than give Nintendo any fucking thing. So if you see me on a Switch 2, yeah, I may have paid $700 for that motherfucker trying to get it from a scalper. But guess what? At the end of the day, I'd rather do that than have the guilt of feeling like I gave Nintendo any money at all for this fucking console. Bro. Every decision being made here is the worst possible decision for gamers, for people who actually have love for the hobby of playing video games. Every decision that they're making here is against us, and the people who don't see it, I'm not in the race to fucking convince you that this shit is terrible. That this shit is terrible, bro. There was no excuse for, there was some excuse for game key cards. However, this should have been preserved. This should have been preserved, for instance, to get GTA 6 on the fucking Switch 2. That's what the game key card should have been. The game key card should have been specifically a way and a means for larger games, like games that would have been like a Call of Duty, the next Call of Duty that's coming out. That should have been what the game key cards were for, because any given Call of Duty can be 70 to 80 gigs in size on the PlayStation 5. It's been that way since I think the beginning of the PlayStation 4. So when we got Advanced Warfare, which if I'm not mistaken was the first Call of Duty on the PlayStation 4, the games have been that big since then. This shit right here should have fucking been like for these types of games. GTA 6, your Call of Duties, your Assassin's Creeds. This is what the game key card should have been for. It shouldn't have been Sonic X Shadows Generation, great fucking game. It shouldn't have been a fucking game key card, bro. Bravely Default. This was a 3DS fucking game. Shouldn't have been a game key card, bro. There's no way you can tell me that they had changed this game up that much in the transfer from what it looked like on the 3DS to HD that this fucking game needed to be a fucking game key card, bro. There's no way. There's no way. Street Fighter 6. A fighting game needs to be a fucking game key card, bro. On what planet, bro? On what planet does a fighting game need to be a fucking game key card, bro? But let me know what you guys think about this. This has been your boy Mazia. Don't forget to do a little A-class gaming. And everything you do, don't forget to keep it A-class. And I'll catch you guys in the next one, man. Hey, I told y'all last time, we in for a terrible future, bro. We in for a terrible future. And I'm going to be honest, niggas. I'd rather fucking purchase it from a scalper and be one less person that bought a Nintendo Switch 2 in Nintendo's numbers than fucking purchase it from Nintendo to be able, purchase it officially to get it cheaper and be another a one in those fucking numbers for the sales for the Nintendo Switch 2. Technically I would still be a one anyways, but at least I don't have to deal with the idea of Nintendo getting my fucking money, bro. Just to stand on principles, dog. I'd rather pay more and Nintendo not see $1 from me for this fucking console, and then I can buy my game secondhand and they still never see $1 from me throughout the rest of this generation, bro. Throughout the rest of the Switch 2's lifetime, I'd rather fucking go that route and pay a little bit more or a lot more and not contribute to, of course, the proliferation of this shit than to fucking be a part of the fucking problem and be a hypocrite, bro. There's going to be some shit. I'm not going to lie. There's going to be some shit on the Switch 2 I most likely want to play. Like whatever Smash Brothers is going to come out. Whatever. If they do a Sonic exclusive, I'm going to want to play that. If they do a Monster Hunter exclusive, since the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and PC just got wilds. If they do a Monster Hunter exclusive, I'm going to want to play that. Kid Icarus, gonna want to play it. The next Legend of Zelda, especially if it's a remake of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask is thrown in there too, I'm gonna want to play it, bro. I'd rather pay $700 fucking dollars. I'll say it again. I'd rather pay $700 fucking dollars and buy the game secondhand than fucking contribute to the proliferation of this fucking bullshit right here. But let me know what you guys think. This has been your boy Mazia. Peace the heck out.